R. The clock on my wall says 5:30 a.m. and the room is still wrapped in a soft, hazy blue light. Every single morning when I open my eyes, I feel this split second of quiet stillness before my mind remembers everything I have to do. R. I lie there under the heavy blanket, listening to the faint sound of birds starting to chirp outside my window. It is so easy to stay in bed, to pull the covers up over my shoulders, and turn away from the day. R. But I take a slow, deep breath, swing my legs over the edge of the mattress, and let my feet touch the cold wooden floor. The chill wakes me up immediately, sending a tiny shiver right through my body. I stand up, stretch my arms up toward the ceiling, and walk over to open the blinds. The sky is pale gray, brushed with soft streaks of pink and orange near the horizon. It is going to be a quiet morning, or at least, that is what I tell myself. I walk into the dark kitchen, my bare feet making a soft tapping sound on the tile. The apartment is so peaceful at this hour. There are no notifications, no emails, and no noise from the street below. Making my morning coffee is a sacred ritual for me. I do not rush it. I pull out my favorite ceramic mug, the one with the slightly chipped handle that I have had for years. I scoop the dark coffee beans into the grinder. The sharp, loud crunching sound of the grinder shatters the quietness of the room, instantly filling the air with that rich, roasted aroma. I pour the freshly ground coffee into the filter, heat the water until it boils, and pour it slowly in tiny circles. Steam rises up into my face, carrying that warm, familiar comfort. I stand by the counter, holding the hot mug in both hands, feeling the heat seep into my cold fingers. I take my mug and walk over to sit by the big window in my living room. The street down below is slowly waking up. A lone delivery truck drives past, its tires making a wet humming noise on the asphalt. A neighbor is out walking a small dog, both of them moving slowly in the chilly air. I take my first sip of coffee. It is hot, dark, and strong, warming my chest as it goes down. This quiet 30 minutes in the morning is where I reset my mind. I open my notebook on the small wooden table. I like writing down 3 tiny goals for the day. Nothing overwhelming. Just 3 things that will make me feel accomplished when the sun goes down. Today, my list looks so simple. Finish my main work project by 2 p.m., clean up the kitchen thoroughly, and spend an hour reading on the sofa. I look at those 3 lines, smile to myself, and think that today will be smooth, quiet, and perfectly under control. By 7 a.m., the sun is fully up, shining a warm golden light across my desk. My workspace is set up right beside the window, which I love because it lets in so much natural daylight. I wipe down the surface of the desk with a clean, damp cloth, clearing away any stray dust from yesterday. I lay out my notebook, my favorite black gel pen, a tall glass of water, and my computer. I turn on my computer, listening to the soft, steady hum of the internal fan coming to life. I take a deep breath, adjust my chair, and sit down to begin my work for the day. For the first few hours, everything goes completely according to plan. My mind feels sharp, focused, and unusually clear. I am typing smoothly, my fingers clicking away on the keyboard with a satisfying rhythmic sound. Task after task gets checked off my list. I am ahead of schedule, feeling that wonderful, quiet surge of productivity that makes you feel like you have your whole life figured out. By 10:45 a.m., I am almost finished with my biggest task of the entire week. It is a huge file, something I have been building, editing, and refining for days. All I need to do is apply the final exports, organize the subfolders, and send it off to my client before noon. I lean back in my chair, taking a big sip of water, feeling immensely proud of myself. I look at the clock on my screen. I am going to finish a whole hour early. I smile, stretch my back, and reach for my mouse to click the final save button. And right at that exact second, without any warning at all, the screen freezes completely. My cursor turns into a tiny spinning wheel. I pause, holding my breath, waiting for it to unfreeze. 5 seconds pass. 10 seconds pass. 30 seconds pass. I click my mouse gently once. Nothing happens. I click it again. A little harder this time. Still nothing. A cold wave of panic instantly washes over my chest. I try pressing the emergency keyboard shortcuts to force quit the application, but the entire system is locked tight. And then, before I can even process what is happening, the entire screen goes completely black. The fan inside the computer shuts off with a low, sad whine. The power light goes out. I sit there in total silence, staring at my own dark reflection in the black glass of the screen. I freeze in my chair, unable to move for a moment. My heart is beating fast in my throat. Did I save it? Did the autosave feature catch the last 40 minutes of work? I press the power button on the computer. Nothing. I press it again, holding it down for 10 seconds. Nothing happens. I look down at my desk lamp. It is off. I look at my phone charger plugged into the wall socket. The charging light is gone. The entire apartment has suddenly lost power. I jump up from my desk, walk briskly into the hallway, and check the main breaker panel. Everything looks completely normal. I look out the window down at the street. The traffic lights at the intersection are completely dark. A power outage. A sudden, unannounced power outage right in the middle of my most important workday. I walk back into my room and sit down heavily on the edge of my bed. A rush of pure frustration fills my mind. I put my head in my hands and take a long, deep breath. Why does this always happen when things are going perfectly? Why today? Why right when I was about to finish everything ahead of time? All the calm, peaceful energy from my morning vanishes in a single instant, replaced by a tense, heavy knot in my stomach. I look at my phone. The battery is at 40%, and the cellular data is running painfully slow because everyone in the neighborhood is trying to use the network at the same time. I try to load a page to check for power outage updates, but the loading bar just sits there, barely moving. For 20 minutes, I just pace back and forth across my living room floor. I check the computer again, hoping for a miracle, but it remains completely dead. I try to organize some papers on my desk, but I cannot focus on anything. My mind is racing, worrying about the lost file, worrying about the missed deadline, worrying about how much time I am wasting just standing here in the middle of my dark apartment. Outside, the sky has turned from a bright morning blue into a dark, heavy gray. Clouds have rolled in quickly, and within minutes, a sudden heavy downpour begins. Rain hits the window glass with a loud, chaotic rhythm, water streaming down the panes in messy lines. I stand by the window, watching the rain pour down on the silent street. I look at my notebook sitting on my desk with those neat, optimistic goals I wrote down just 3 hours ago. Everything feels completely derailed. My schedule is broken, my routine is shattered, and my mood is ruined. But as I stand there listening to the heavy sound of the rain, something inside my head slowly begins to shift. I realize that I have two choices right now. I can spend the next 2 hours pacing around my living room, stressing over things I cannot control, getting angrier and angrier at a dark computer screen. Or I can just accept that this day is not going to go the way I planned. I can step away from the desk, accept the messiness, and break my own rigid rules for once. I take a long, slow breath, letting my shoulders drop down away from my ears. I decide to leave the house. If I cannot work, I am not going to sit here and stare at 4 dark walls. I put on a thick pullover sweater, grab my heavy rain jacket, and slip into my waterproof boots. I take a large umbrella from the hallway rack, lock my apartment door, and walk down the stairs into the cool, damp afternoon. Stepping out of the building into the rain feels like taking a cold bucket of water to the face in the best possible way. The air is cool, sharp, and wet, smelling heavily of damp concrete, wet earth, and fresh rain. The sound of the storm surrounds me completely, drowning out every noisy thought in my head. Raindrops bounce off the fabric of my umbrella with a continuous, rhythmic drumming sound. Every step I take makes a soft splash in the shallow puddles forming along the sidewalk. The streets are almost entirely empty. People are hiding inside, waiting for the weather to clear up. But I am out here, walking with no specific destination, no timer running, and no task to finish. I walk down blocks that I usually rush past every single day on my way to run errands. When you are rushing, you miss so much of the world around you. Today, because my routine was forcibly broken, I am actually looking at things. R. I notice the bright green color of the wet moss growing between the bricks of an old building. I notice the way the yellow streetlights reflect long, glowing lines in the dark puddles on the road. R. I notice a tiny bakery tucked away on a side street that I have passed 100 times but never actually stepped inside. The yellow light coming from its front window looks so warm and inviting against the dark, rainy backdrop of the afternoon. R. I push open the heavy wooden door of the bakery and a tiny brass bell rings above my head. The air inside is instantly warm, thick with the comforting smells of freshly baked bread, toasted butter, roasted coffee, and vanilla. R. It feels like stepping into a completely different world. The bakery is quiet, with only 2 other people sitting at small tables near the back. A young barista behind the counter smiles warmly and greets me. R. I walk up to the glass display case, looking at all the fresh pastries neatly arranged on wooden trays. I order a cup of hot black coffee and a warm cinnamon roll, topped with a generous swirl of white icing.